you have no idea what it's going to be like in winter,
Yeah.
in spring. You have no idea. You need these people around you.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're on your own. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Family Business with the Alessis, our podcast here. And I am here with my sister, Stephanie Muiña.
Hello.
Of course, I am Chris Alessi, father of Marino Alessi now. And we have something really interesting to talk about today. It's kind of the podcast where we come out and we admit, all right, there's some egg on our face.
Yes.
And what we mean is today we're going to talk about how we came to recognize just how gifted, talented, and valuable the staff that came before us. We call them here, at our church, at our business, we call them the executive staff, the senior staff. People that helped raise us, but also helped our parents build the organization we have now. And so there's a little egg on our face, how we came to honor them.
Yes.
But Steph, real quick, what are you thinking about this topic just off the jump?
Oh, I love it because I needed to hear this 5-6 years ago. I thought I was so smart. I thought I had it down because we were pastors' kids. We knew ministry. We knew the backgrounds of it. We knew what was happening behind the scenes more than everybody else. And then I soon figured out that the people that have been working here for 20-something years, they've been in an office setting with our dad. They've been in the trenches with people in ministry. They've seen a lot themselves more than I have because I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I wish I had this material much earlier in the game for sure. What about you?
Well, it's totally normal to think, as you're getting your feet about you in life, especially in your trade or your gift, it's really easy to think that, you're the new generation. So you know what it takes.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to overlook those who have got you there. It's very normal.
Yeah.
But then something happens in life. You go from the fresh 20-year-old to the not so fresh 30-year-old.
Man.
And your organization hires a bunch of fresh 20-year-olds. And you start to recognize, wow, they think I don't know anything.
I know.
That happened to me. It actually happened, just to be honest, to open it up, throw it out there, with one of my siblings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one?
I don't remember.
I think I know who it is.
But it really does, and that's obviously tongue-in-cheek, but it helps you start to see, moreover, that, man, I wouldn't be able to add value to this organization if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't be an organization.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit about how to really honor them. That's kind of the word that we'll discuss, is like, how do we honor them? Because we quickly realized during COVID, if we did not have a senior staff, if we did not have a senior leader, a senior pastor.
Oh my gosh.
We wouldn't have a church.
No.
If you and I were running this thing during COVID, there would not be a podcast, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There would not be a church. And even if there was, it probably wouldn't be all that well respected.
Yeah.
So we're talking about honoring them today.
Yeah, and this can appeal to people also in the workplace and in normal jobs. You have bosses that are 20, 30 years older than you, and the generations are so separated in mindset of how to get work done, how to get the word out there, how to think of new ideas. It's two totally different eras.
Yeah.
Even somebody from 10 years ago, that was the MySpace and Facebook generation. Now it's the TikTok and Instagram, which has changed drastically. So this isn't just for church. It can also be in a corporate workspace and wherever you work, that this is a partnership with the people that are older than you and the people that are younger than you.
Yeah.
But we can learn so much from people that have 20 years on us in our line of work, you know?
Well, here's the thing. In sports, we would look at a young draft pick and we'd call him arrogant and cocky if he didn't want to learn from the people, the all-stars that played for that team before him.
Yeah.
Even though the game has changed, even though they're like, they can't play the game anymore. They're too old. We would be like, there's something wrong with that kid, that draft pick, because he's not learning.
Yeah.
But in some organizations, because it's not based off athleticism, something that's just going to decline over time anyways, you kind of start to buy your own hype a little bit.
Yeah.
You believe every idea is good simply because it's your idea.
Yeah.
And so here's something kind of funny. So I remember, which came to like planning and stuff, I kind of had this mindset. I would even teach on it sometimes where I'd be like, look, if you have like a rowboat, little boat made of wood, obviously you buy it, it's brand new. And then at some point there's a hole in it, so you patch it. And then at some hole there's a hole in it, so you patch it. But if you just keep patching that rowboat, before you know it, it's less the boat you bought and more patches. So sometimes you got to start over. And it was a metaphor for like, sometimes you've got to throw everything out and start from scratch. And I could never understand why some of the senior staff wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to look at this team that we have and just say, you know what? We only do it this way because we used to do it that way. Yeah. What if we start from scratch and think of a new way?
Yeah.
Because I'm always attracted to the new. Well, then all of a sudden, because they're always like, no, we just need to fine tune one or two areas. And I'd get so mad. I'm like, all you want to do is fine tune, but we'll never win a Super Bowl if you keep patching.
Yeah.
Well, then, because I got hired at 19, 12 years pass. And I'm sitting in a meeting and somebody comes and is asking me about a thing that I've overseen, about something that I worked on developing. And they bring up the idea of scrapping the whole thing.
Yep.
And I heard the word fine-tuning come out of my mouth. And I realized at that point, oh my gosh, if we have a team full of people and we just scrap the system that they used to work with, like that really downplays everything that they put into it.
Yeah.
So every volunteer lead that we have, or
oh my God,
we basically take their work and we throw it out.
Throw it out, yeah.
And then we say, we start from scratch, something we really don't know if it's going to work. It worked on paper, but we don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And the only reason I think it'll work is because I think it'll work.
Yeah.
I start to realize, shoot, people can't feed their families on ideas.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I just quickly started to realize, oh my gosh, this wasn't that they weren't willing to do it. It's that they were wise and I was wet behind the ears.
Yes. And the temptation for us younger generation is to believe that we have a stronger bond with more of our younger generation. And we know more. We have more insight. We're just more up to date. But the value of the older generation is they have a tighter bond to the why of the corporation.
Oh, yeah.
The why of your church, the why of the vision. They know the why because it's been tested, even in them. And they've had kids, they've had families, they've built marriages. So they really know the value of life. They know the value of, or what really you value in your life. And that's why you need the older generation to tell you, sure, you do have the insight. You do have the fresh ideas because you are younger. But I have the old tried and true why that you need to stay committed to your work.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they stood the test of time. And we were talking about it earlier. If you have somebody that you work with that's been at work in the same position or it's been promoted over time for the past 20 years, that is a gold mine. That is a gem. And now you're going to come and say that your ideas at 20-something years old are better than theirs. You can completely miss the opportunity to partner with that person, to work alongside them, to learn from them. You want to be working for the next 20 years with promotions just like they are. You want to achieve the same kind of stuff they want to achieve. You want to minister to people the way they minister to people. Partner with them. Submit yourself to them. Get to know them. Because that's a gold mine today. So it's crazy.
Why do you think we don't? Why do we as younger people, why do we struggle with that?
Well, it's just immaturity, number one. Off the bat, we think we're the new kid in town, so we can offer something fresh, we can offer something new, and our pride gets in the way. But I just think it's a lot of immaturity that, honestly, one failure, one mess up completely demolishes it.
Yeah.
You have to go into your work setting understanding you are just the younger kid on the block that doesn't know anything, but you have a lot of energy to offer. I remember there's a kid that we know here at the church, and they had been offered a job opportunity where they actually didn't know anything about this position. They didn't go to college for it. They didn't go to any club in high school for it, and they were super, super young. But that person was offered the position. And he responded to the bosses saying, yes, you're right. I don't know anything about what the job you're giving me, But I can promise you, I'm going to work my tail off to learn everything about this. I'm going to do everything you want me to do. I'm going to work hard into the nights, hard into the days, into the weekends to get it done. And I'm just here to be your slave pretty much so I can become an expert at this. They hired him immediately because it's just a sign of humility. You're teachable. You're flexible. We can pour into you. You would be willing to work with somebody twice your age. You would be willing to do the dirty work for a couple years because that is what's actually going to get you into the good positions. But it just comes with you need to step in with a teachable heart. You need to come in with flexibility.
Yeah.
You need to be willing to be wrong. You need to be willing to be corrected and say thank you when that's given to you.
I think if you were to ask me, why do I think this happens?
Why do you think this happens?
I think it's almost kind of like if you live in Miami your entire life, you think there's one season, summer. You just think that's a season. So when we move, if anyone moves from Miami to another place with seasons, they are completely unprepared for the different seasons because they've only known one. In the same way, when you're younger, you've really only known one season your whole life. Adolescence, figuring it out, growing, figuring out what you can do, why you would want to do it. So you get used to this summer season. Everything is fun because you really don't have bills the same way. Everything is new because everything is new to you.
Yeah.
There's dopamine whenever you learn a new lesson. Yeah. You think no one else has heard this because you've never heard this. So it's like this one season, but you don't necessarily know what it's going to be like. Okay, let's just stick to work for a second. What is it like to still work in this environment with a wife and a kid at home?
Yeah.
You don't know that. You don't know that season. They do.
Yeah.
So here you are in summer thinking, I can give my whole life to this, and they don't. Look, they're not as committed as I am. Well, it's because you don't have as much to be committed to. And they've learned how to bridge the gap, how to figure that out. They've learned how to maneuver through that ceiling, or that season. I think one of the things that I've learned, I'm only 31. And it's not like this huge dip. I'm not trying to sound old, but like I don't have the energy I had at 21.
Yeah.
Where it was like the world was my oyster and I wanted to do all of these new things all the time. I didn't realize that was a depreciating asset. So if I can't even know what I will feel in 10 years, why would I disconnect from the people who have lived through all of these seasons and they know what's going to be important to me in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years? I remember really struggling to see the value in all of our executive staff at different times, mainly because they either didn't want to run a meeting the way that I did or the way that I had read a book about or whatever, or they were just stuck to the way they had done things before. And I couldn't see the value. Meanwhile, I think I've got just about the majority of what I have because of one of the executive staff at a different time.
Yeah.
It was one of them that convinced me to pursue Rochelle. If I would have gotten rid of them in my own heart, I'm not saying I never had the ability organizationally,
I know,
but in my own heart, if I would have disconnected myself from them, I would have never, ever had what I have at home.
Our wedding days.
Half of the people
setting up our wedding days, setting up our ceremonies.
Putting the whole, wanting to, saying, how do I put this on for you
my God.
to make it everything you deserve? There were so many times I wanted to settle for less than the best that God had for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know all that God had for me. And yet here came one of our executive staff saying, hey, you can't settle for this.
Yeah.
You know, a small example is when I wanted to rent an apartment thinking this was brilliant. And Dad came and just told me, I kind of wished you dreamed bigger. That's all he told me.
Crazy.
Man, thank God I didn't listen to what I wanted to do. Thank God I listened to Dad.
Yeah.
In the same way, when you're only used to the season you're in when you're younger, when that's the only season you've ever experienced, you have no idea what it's going to be like in winter.
Yeah.
In spring, you have no idea. You need these people around you.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're on your own.
Yes. And just one little side note, even if you're working with older people that are a little hard to work with and dysfunctional, we're noticing this in somebody else's story right now. Time will reveal the wisdoms.
Yeah.
If you're working with somebody who's older than you and they're not so wise, time will show you the wisdoms about them. And that's still...
You don't have to.
You don't have to. But time will show that to you. And another thing I want to add, our generation does not hone in on honor.
Mm-mm.
I have not heard the message of honor
from our generation at all?
At all, except at church from my dad. Nobody else. Honor literally is the door of Narnia in your house that you can keep locked for the rest of your life and completely forget and miss out on the benefits of, because you just didn't apply it. You didn't learn how to apply it. Sure, no one taught you, but you didn't try to look into how to honor the ones that are older than you. And that is that virtue that I'm now learning when I put it into practice. Every time I put honor into practice, there is always a return.
Yeah.
Always. They trust me more.
Bigger than anything you could pay for.
Oh
Bigger
my
than
gosh.
anything you could ever find.
It takes up years of having to prove. If you just do little tiny gestures of honor, getting coffee for that person, paying for the dinner when they probably have the money to, but you saying, no, I want to pay for my dinner with you guys tonight because I honor this time with you, going and making sure their car's washed, making sure that the door's open for them when they're coming in. Honoring in the small things always has a return of respect for you.
But that's because life's a conveyor belt. And people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Right now, you're in summer. But winter will come. Spring will come.
Very good.
Another summer will come again. Fall will come after that. So if you don't, and this is really important because when you bring out the word honor, it sounds like a feeling, like a respect. It's just greater respect. And that's not what it is at all. And so if we could talk about not just the why, but how to honor. The why, if I could go to first, the why is important because let's say you and I have, when we walked in here, like, which seat do you want? Because it's like the good side. You got the seat with your good side. I got the seat with my bad side. The Bible discusses a table. The Bible discusses a table with seats of honor. If I dishonor a seat someone is sitting in by dishonoring the person, the way that people have completely dishonored the presidency, the seat of the presidency because of the person in it, right? Now, everything there we feel is a clown show. Mm-hmm. Well, it's because we dishonored the seat, because we dishonored the person. So if you dishonor the person, you naturally dishonor the seat. And here's what's nuts. The reason you're doing that is because you want that seat. You want the seat.
Yeah.
You're the one who makes the seat you want a dishonorable one, and then you try to go sit in it. If it works and you get them out of there, if they're not involved anymore, if they're not in charge anymore, and now you have the chance to go run with it, you're the one who dishonored the seat.
Man.
So you said this seat and who sits in it does not matter.
Yes.
If they are not perfect, does not matter. You said that.
Yes.
And so then you go and you sit in it, and it's a dishonorable seat, and it's your own making. Now, meanwhile, if you come in and you go, hey, pastor, hey, leader, hey, boss, hey, mom, hey, whatever it is, the seat you're in is important.
Yes.
Hey, that seat's important. Naturally, because of life, you will sit in it.
Yeah.
And all everyone has ever seen you do is call that seat important.
And now you as an older person is having issues with the younger generation because you're looking at them saying, gosh, they never honor me. They never listen to the wisdom I have to tell them. I'm talking all the time about all the stuff I've learned, but no one listens to me. I guess just what I say, they're too young to hear what oldie has to say. Well, maybe go back and see, did you honor the ones before you? Did you set that principle in your household? Did you set that principle in your life? And here's the truth about honor. You can live without doing it, but you will miss out on such a blessing in your life. You will miss out on gaining that seat, exactly like you just said. You will miss out on your children knowing how to honor you. There was this one night, when I became a parent, I don't know what it was. This memory just bloomed, and I every single time we're cleaning up our kitchen, it's the memory that goes on in my head. We were having dinner with Grandma and Papa. This was like 10 years ago. We were really, really young, and probably like you in your mid-20s. We were young, and Grandma and Papa were over for dinner. We were all sitting around. We had just finished dinner, and we had to switch out for dessert. And Dad just went, Chris, Lolo, Gabby, Steph, get up. Get their dishes in the sink. Start cleaning. We just did it. He didn't even have to tell us harshly. He didn't have to say it twice. We thought, yes, let's do this for Grandma and Papa. So we get up, we grab everybody's plates, we put it in the sink. Lauren starts cleaning. Someone's getting the dessert ready. We're getting the coffee ready. And we served. And I remember Papa stood up to get his plate, and we went and said, "No, Papa, sit down. We got it." And he was like, "Can I get a coffee?" We're like, "Yeah, what do you want? A coffee? Do you want a slice of the cake?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's what I want." And as we're all walking into the kitchen, I hear Papa go, "Steve, you did a good job with these kids.
Oh my gosh.
Steve, this is great. I didn't have to stand up once." And that has stuck with, it makes me cry because it's Papa, but that's not why I'm talking about it. What's so amazing is the principle of honor that he set in kids so young. Gabby had to have been 11 or 12, and she already understood, hey, the grandparents are at the house. They are not serving their own plate. They are not cleaning their own plate. I'm serving them. And look at the honor that it brought to the head of the household, how it immediately turned and gave him the respect that he deserved. But it just spoke to me that I thought, there is no other way I'm raising my kids.
Yeah.
That's what they have to do that.
Well, I think people forget that there's enough honor to go around.
Yeah.
And if you honor those who came before you, they will honor you and more because they can.
Yeah.
Think about it just financially. I was blown away by the amount of people that wanted to come and sew into our baby or sew into our marriage, our wedding. And I'm like, man, they can give me a whole lot more than I can give them.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that's because they've had the time to put money away to get a bigger paycheck. You know, they've had that time. So you always look at your parent to pay the bill because they're just natural. You have to be taught, right? In the same way, they have more honor to give than you have to give. And if you honor them,
can you imagine that?
They will honor you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I see that meme, okay, boomer, and making fun of boomers and all that. And what we get is like, you have a generation that says that the current generation is the most awful we've ever seen. And then you have our generation calling them boomers and making fun of them like they can't do anything right. And you sit back and you're like, dang, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Who declared war first? Well, all I know is they were never really told biblically to honor us. We were told to honor them.
Yeah.
You never hear God say, hey, mom, dad, honor your kid. You hear, don't exasperate them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're the ones as a kid, honor your father and mother. And that was not given to a room full of kids. That was given to the nation. The nation honors fathers and mothers. Why? Because eventually we will all be a father and a mother. And if we set up the system to honor them, we will be honored too. So let's talk about how you do it, because we found out, you know, I used to follow this organization very similar to ours, but much bigger, far away. And I ended up hearing that in one day they fired everybody above a certain age limit.
Yeah.
They just got rid of them all. And they talked about and it seemed like they really blew up after that. So it was like, oh my gosh. That's amazing. Yeah. They figured it out. And it didn't take long for me to think, but what about the day that I'm at that age limit? Starting to realize that right now, today, I am significantly closer to 40 than I am the day I graduated high school.
Crazy.
And I still feel super young. I am closer to 40 than the day I graduated high school. That day, that age limit is coming, and it's coming fast. If I create an environment that says only people this young have value, this new have value, I will age myself out.
Yeah.
So I remember talking about how we honor. I remember when it became a role for me to kind of oversee like an event. And I had this let's all divide and conquer mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone always wants to pull together to make everything happen. And that's unhealthy. You can't do that. Like, come on, guys. It's got to be divided. You focus on you, I can focus on me. Well, basically, the day of the event came and I could not sleep the night before because there were so many holes. So many things I didn't think of. So many things that I had not thought through.
Yeah.
Because all I thought about, because I had taken advantage of them, taken them for granted, they had all of the details on like autopilot. So the things we discussed in meetings weren't the details. It was just the stuff we had to discuss. So all I did was the stuff that I knew to discuss, but there were all these details I didn't know.
Yeah.
So now that event came and went, and it was awful. So what we do now is we get the staff, the younger team, the one with energy, the new ideas. They come together. They put everything together because the executive staff, now that they feel honored, they love to see us operate like that. But we put a plan together on paper, and then what do we do now? We submit it to them.
Yeah.
Not for approval, because we have our roles.
Yeah.
Not for approval, but we submit it to them to say, hey, edit this thing. What am I not seeing?
Yeah.
And they come through, and what is amazing is when they're able to get to a place where they go, honestly, nothing.
Yeah.
Takes time, but now they're enjoying the fruit of their labor and the fruit of our labor because everything we do is the fruit of their labor too.
Yes.
And it's been the most fun season of work ever.
Yeah. Another way to honor that generation is to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Like a small gesture, you're at the supermarket line and there's somebody older behind you. I'm talking about like somebody old behind you, and you step out of the way to let them come in front of you, or you're helping them cross the streets to protect them because they're old and they need help and cars are whipping by. Well, you can expand that idea into so many other small gestures to protect those that you work with that are older than you. It is super easy to get into a room with people your age and completely rip them apart and to bash the older ones and to maybe even take their side and the younger generation side and say, oh, I understand it's frustrating, guys. I understand they're annoying. I understand that they're hard. You've completely exposed them. You've completely uncovered them. In private, it's dishonoring to them.
Mm-hmm.
And even if some of those things are true and they are hard to work with, you don't talk about it. You keep it, that is something that you keep between yourself and that older person that you work with. But cover them, protect them. If they are walking in the parking lot, make sure that you're carrying their bags and you're helping them get to their car.
Yeah.
If they have their family coming in, you take care of their family. Always make sure that is your number one priority when you're stepping into the workplace, because it's your job to protect them. They are a well of wisdom. They are a well of information. They are a well of value to your life at work and outside of work, at church and outside of church. And it needs to be protected.
Yeah.
It needs to be prioritized because the world is not protecting them. The world is making memes. Okay, boomer. The world is making them feel like they're inadequate, like they don't have anything else to contribute to this generation. When, man, they have so much to teach us. I mean, when I started working with Alan and he came alongside me and helped me with the worship team, I really feel like I stepped into phase 2 of leadership. Because he told me one night about some wisdom just to help me process through one of the team members. And it completely changed my way of thinking about the worship team. Completely. And about working with other adults. And it set me free from so much frustration and just mind loops because I submitted myself to him. He's a very modest man. He's not going to just tell you what you're doing wrong right off the bat. I have to go and tell Alan, what am I doing wrong? Please help me. And when he does, his advice trumps everything I want to do because I really trust his experience. He's a genius musician. He's worked with so many bands, so many teams. The guy knows what he's doing. And I'm over here still only 27 years old, like still learning so much.
It's the oldest you've ever been.
I know, it's crazy. But, and it needs to be protected, you know.
Well, to that point, you know, there is a Bible verse that says to not move the landmarks of your fathers. Landmarks would have been wells and roads and stuff like that. And when you think about what you just said, if we don't protect it and we move the landmarks, if we move the well, then you're looking out on land and you're looking for water, and there's no way of knowing where the water is because you moved that landmark.
Yeah.
And so now you make it hard for yourself. We take for granted how many wells we were born into, and you have to keep it. You have to protect it. Think about the way that so many stories were passed down for so long orally. If you did not learn the story, not making up a new one or adding a detail because it's new and it's fresh, if you did not learn the details of the stories they had to tell, then history would be different because we wouldn't have it to pass down. Crazy. In the same way, we have to learn the stories.
Yeah.
We have to learn where the well is and why it's there because they already figured it out. Our generation wants to change what marriage means, what gender means, when every generation before us has done all the hard work and decided, nope, it's 2 genders. Nope, it's between a man and a woman. They have figured this out. And we're like, no, We'll start from scratch and tell every generation before us what it was.
Yeah.
So, I had this thought while you were talking because I don't listen to you. I just keep thinking.
I can tell.
I'm kidding. But we may not set the rules for this season, but we set the rules for the next season.
Yeah.
And if I operate poorly today, I am creating a bad environment for my own life to operate in the future.
I know.
But if I set the standard of honor today, it may not change anything. They may not honor me.
Yeah.
But if I honor them, then I make the rules for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the rules are we honor. And all of a sudden, the generation behind us honors us because we made the rules. And when they go to make the rules, they'll say, no, we honor these people. We honor. And what you find is there's enough honor to go around, respect, involvement. There's enough room for everyone. And you'll almost go to the place where at first you're like, I can't see the value. And you'll move to this place of, please don't ever retire.
It's not funny.
So this is what we've been talking about today. You have any last thoughts on honor?
No, my only thought is that proverb that says, honor your friends and honor the friends of your father.
Yep.
Keep them close, honor them, show them your children, invite them to the weddings, invite them to the parties. Honor your father's friends as much as you honor your own friends.
And don't move the landmarks.
And don't move those landmarks.
That's a great little
I know,
way
look
to end
at us.
it. My gosh, look at you. We've obviously practiced this 100 times. Well, that's been another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let's remember, there's enough honor to go around.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more. And you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.